Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researchers Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Bhargava with us. A brief introduction of Dr. Bhargava. He has done his bachelor's in agriculture from University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, master's in agricultural entomology from University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad, and for PhD he attended University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore again with the specialization in entomology, post which he joined a startup, CRISPR Bits, as a scientist and currently is a senior researcher at Tata Institute of Genetics and Society and also adjunct fellow at Macquarie University, Sydney, Australia. With this brief introduction, we'll say thank you so much, Dr. Bhargava, for taking time out.
Thank you so much, Raja, for having me here.
We always start
Yeah.
our these conversations that how and when you decided that you want to become a researcher.
Um, so I don't think I have any single moment to say that this moment made me researcher or something like that. So I just joined Bachelor of Agriculture accidentally. I mean, on a serious note, I did not have too much passion to join agriculture science. I just heard, I mean, it has a good scope post degree. So I just joined the degree, but yeah, but even before that, I was very fond of nature, and I used to watch a lot of nature related documentaries. And we had a course called entomology during the agriculture sciences during my bachelor. So, I mean, since I used to watch a lot of nature-related documentaries, this subject sort of, I developed a connection with that subject. I started liking that, and again, I mean, I was not sure I would take that subject for my research, or I mean, I was not sure till then that I want to be a researcher. But then again, out of confusion, again, I just joined my master's. But then during my master's, I started loving the subject, and so then I was sure that I want to continue as a researcher, and then I wanted to do a PhD, and yeah, and I joined PhD again in a University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, and I was just searching for my problem to work on. And around the same time, I guess the Nobel Prize was awarded in chemistry for genome editing, for developing a genome editing tools in eukaryotes. And at the same time, I started searching for my mentors, and I learned about Dr. Ashokan, who featured in one of your earlier episodes. So luckily, I mean, there was one thing back of my mind. I mean, the genome editing technology that was fascinated. I mean, I have a fascination with that technology. Like, yeah, I like the concept that genome editing can be used to edit the genome of complex organisms. And luckily, I also got to know that Dr. Ashokan was working on insect genome editing. So I kindly approached him and he agreed. And I think probably during my PhD, I really developed as a researcher, and my interest still grew more towards research there.
So, if we can say
Yeah,
that it was the PhD training when you actually matured as a researcher and enjoyed it more than anyone else. So,
right,
let's
right.
talk about the starting journey when you mentioned that you were driven by the end product, like the scope of the undergrads. That's when you started enjoying entomology. You did it for your
Mm-hmm.
master's, and then before committing to PhD, you were already either it was your fascination for genome editing, the science, or it was the implementation of it in future, where you want to find your research question and how to help the society. Which one of these, the most important, I'll say the point when you were deciding on your PhD?
I mean, to be honest, so when I read about this article about genome editing, I mean, I was, I admired that research, and so I was, I mean, I was taken away by the fact that we can edit the human genome or any other eukaryotes with that tools taken from bacteria. But still, I was not decided that I want to do a PhD in that. But it was a coincidence, so that I mean, I had this thought in back of my mind, and at the same time, I just found that the research in insect in the same line is going on somewhere in Bangalore. So it was just a coincidence, and so I mean all the dots connected, and so I started. Then I decided that yes, this is the area that I wanted to do research, because until then I have no idea about molecular biology. I did not know anything, but I mean that was also a very hard decision to make since I did not have any background in that. That was a bit of tough decision, but then. So I just approached some of the seniors, and they were like, I mean, it's nothing rocket science, you can learn easily, and they really guided me. And yeah, so I just went in that direction. It was more of a go with flow, not
Okay.
a really well thought process that I made. But yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And in fact, this is for all the audience here that, as Bhargava mentioned, sometimes when you have a goal in your mind, you see that what are the skill sets required for that. Do not control yourself, or do not limit yourself that you do not know that that's the reason why you should not apply for it. Whereas see this as an opportunity, as Bhagava mentioned, that PhD is a training and you are going to learn a lot of skills. You are going to develop a lot of tools which in future people will use. So always keep this open minded thought before starting your PhD. And then now let's start the journey of the PhD, Bhargava. How did that go for you?
Um, yeah, it was very smooth, I would say. I did not face much of a problem. I'd got a very good mentor, and I got a really good lab mates. So I learned a lot from all of them. Yeah, I did face a few challenges now and then, but uh, I mean, I used to feel like when I used to fail in experiments or any of that sort. Uh, at that point of time, I was feeling very sad or disappointed. But then, when I just sit and go back to those days, but those were the moments which made me hard or which made me to learn more. So yeah, apart from that, like most of the PhD was smooth, and I got to learn a lot of things from my lab mates, from my mentor, and uh, yeah. Totally, I matured as a researcher, probably during my PhD.
Wonderful. So we talk about the challenges and accomplishments of researchers in this series. And that's why when we named it as Researcher Celebrity, the idea was let's celebrate research. People do
Yeah.
talk about the successes most of the time. Either it is publication or celebration of anything else, achievements. But how about, as you mentioned, as a researcher, a PhD student, when you are going through that tough time when most of the things are not working, how you kept yourself sane without losing the control, and based on your experience, what you can share with our audience that how what there are different ways that they can be sane and enjoy their research during those tough time also.
Um, So, I mean, if I want to take an example of like the experiments that I was doing, and how the setbacks I used to get during those things. So whenever the experiments fail, I would just sit back and think like whether have messed up during doing that experiments. So if I have. Uh, I mean, if I was not sure that even like I would have messed up by during setting up some reactions or something. I would simply I'll just I used to repeat those experiments. Otherwise, I mean, if I was really confident in if I was really confident in my experiment, I'll just I'll run through my experiments again. Just go regarding the protocols or any other the details that with which the experiment that I have done. And even I used to talk to my lab mates, my mentor, and yeah. So whenever experiments fail, I used to just ask myself like what would have gone wrong, and if I was not clear, I'll always go back to my seniors, my lab, I mean the lab mates, and then get it sorted. Yeah. So, but I would say definitely we should fail in experiments. Yeah, only then you'll actually learn the science. Otherwise, you'll if you get too much of success in the beginning, probably I mean, you'll enjoy that success at that moment, but at the later part of your career, you feel missed out on certain aspects. So definitely, I would say you should take that setbacks with a lot of courage.
Absolutely. And I think that
Yeah.
is the thing which we discuss with early faculties or the stage of the postdoctoral training, that for all the PhD students, maintaining well written or well documented journals or notebooks, that helps you big time in troubleshooting. Because if you're writing every tiny detail of your experiment, and if it did not work, you might have a good chance that you know that, okay, instead of something, you either the concentration was different or something was different, which you can easily fix. Whereas if there is no documentation of a failed experiment, that means you have to do everything over and over again until you fix it. The second point, as Bhargava mentioned, having this conversation with your peers and mentor is very important. What is happening in this current era where the performance pressure is so much, the peer pressure is so much, especially during the PhD and the postdoctoral training, because you have to publish, you have to follow the timelines. And if you are not discussing your failed experiments and taking the path which is authentic by doing everything in proper ways, that's when people start, or the students under pressure start doing some things which are not supposed to be, like data manipulation and anything else. So if you have those support systems of your peers, of your mentor, you should rely on that, because if you really want to be in research, being authentic is the most easy way to continue. Bhargava, when you were facing all of this, were there any time when you thought that you want to quit your PhD?
Not really, because as I said, I had got a very good bunch of lab mates. Um, so definitely, at any point of my PhD, I did not feel. I mean, I did not feel to quit the PhD. So whenever I used to depressed by the failed experiments or something, I used to talk with my lab mates, and if it's too much depressing, I would just take a few break and then come back stronger and do that experiment. So yeah, I mean, having a good company during your PhD will make you to overcome any challenge that you might face during those hard times. But yeah, yeah, as of I mean, I did not feel at any point of my PhD, I did not feel to quit.
That's wonderful. And this is
Yeah.
something which we also try to encourage our young researchers early during their PhD time, that taking the breaks, acknowledging the burnout is very important. And that's when now, not only in India, but at global platforms, we started talking about the mental well-being of researchers, because sometimes we are so sucked up with those failed experiments or troubleshooting that we forget that there is life outside the lab, also outside the experiments, that you are a human, there are needs. as you said, like either taking the breaks, connecting with your friends, spending time with your family, that give you that fresh rejuvenation. And then once you're back in your with your experiments, again, everything is working. You might be still doing the same things, and that is one of the most fascinating thing about experiments, the failed experiments specifically. Most of the researchers say they did exactly the same thing, and 2 days it did not work, the third day it did work. The thing is, with your mental ability, how you are performing those experiments is sometimes even more important than what are you doing within that. So, Bhargava, when you were around the time of completion of your PhD, what were the thoughts, as you mentioned, that you matured during your uh, PhD as a researcher? What was the thoughts that, okay, how the path goes and what were the goals?
Yeah, I said my PhD was smooth, but definitely towards the end of my PhD, I started getting too many questions. I was not sure like which path to take, or so that's a hard part of my PhD, I would say, because like I had to take few tough decisions on regarding like what career to pursue after this. So I have had few options, like either to go for either to continue in academia or to join industry, or whether I want to go abroad to pursue my postdoc. So I thought of these three options, but then I stuck with industry. Because in academia, what I felt, and when I discussed with few of my seniors, they were like, so, I mean, in academia, the initial you have to be very patient. There will be a little bit of uncertainty in the initial few days of your, postdoctoral research, especially in India. And you might not be paid very good during those phase. And also and I was sure that I'll have to be in India, and I was not very I did not think of going to abroad to pursue my postdoc. And only when I eliminated all this, only industry left with me. Then I decided that I'll continue my research in industry side. Then like I started exploring which industries works on genome editing. I had no options of the industries which were working in genome editing in insects, but I got few of the companies which were working with genome editing technology. Then I just chose. I just applied few of them, and I got luckily I got a reply from a company called CRISPR Bits. It was a startup, and it was a very wonderful startup, and I got a very good learning in initial phase of my postdoctoral research. So yeah, so that's how I chose my post PhD career.
Lovely. Being said that, for all the audience, that as mentioned by Bhargava, patience is the key. Okay, either you are going to do academic research or in industrial research. Research is research. It's just the name of the settings driven by timelines. Some are more challenging than the other one, but patience is the key for everyone. And having those clear priorities, as Dr. Bhagwa mentioned, that everyone has different priorities. There are PhD scholars who are just waiting for the award of the degree and they want to move out of their countries, respective countries. It can be anywhere in the world where you want to go and work, having those priorities clear. And then obviously, not very well spoken, but always thought about the payment, like how you are gonna get remunerated, is also one thing. Some of the researchers are driven by research passion. They just need the bare minimum where they can pay their bills, enjoy their life without thinking too much, whereas some have extra responsibilities and want to live a lavish life. So you know yourself the best. Figuring out everything clear on paper helps you for making the wiser decisions, although there are decisions which you probably will, after a long time you'll say probably that was not the best, I should have taken another path, but that's the part of life and researchers are no exception for them. So Bhargav, after joining CRISPR bits and getting the training, what was the thought which was going for the next move, being said that you have all priorities in your head clear, that what you want to do, what you do not want to do, then uh, how the next phase of your research went.
Um, After joining to CRISPR Bits, as I said, that was a totally different field for me. There, the research was mostly concentrated on healthcare settings, so which I had no exposure on. So initially, it was a bit difficult for me to get along with that. And but like as the time progressed, I really started enjoying the different learnings that I was getting there, and I got a new I have added few extra skills to my skill sets. That was really great. And then like in back of my mind somewhere I started missing insects. So like I wanted to work on insects, but that nevertheless, I was not too driven into the insects. Like I was fine and I was doing well. I was enjoying my research in CRISPR bits, but then I just got an opportunity, and I got to know that TIGS, where I'm working now, they wanted to start working on the genome editing part of insects. Not exactly genome editing, but towards they wanted to start working on synthetic biology of black soldier fly. So that sort of interested me again, and I just approached, and yeah, so again I just changed uh, my path again. I mean, I just changed the company in a very short time. Even though I was not very frustrated, and I have not frustrated and have changed the company. It was just I just was attracted more towards the opportunity that was coming up. So I had to make a decision, and then I approached and I got accepted, and then I just shifted my field again to insect.
Okay. So before coming to discuss the points of your research at Tata Institute of Genetics and Society, let's have an overview of when you were doing your PhD, the academic research. It was like a very focused question where you were doing all the research. And now, then you joined a startup company, as you mentioned about it. The research in both of these places obviously is different in so many different ways. So, what you can share with our audience that whenever they are thinking of joining startups, what are the things which they should be very clear about, or like if they are not very clear then they should not do that.
Um, So I would say, so before joining any startup, I would say just run through the website of the startup and see the people involved in the startup, and like just try to contact the people and just try to understand uh, like how the startup is working, and just know briefly about the culture of their work and know about the people who are working there. So that's what, when I just ran through a website of CRISPR bits, I was really I was very interested in CRISPR bits because there were a lot of good people working there, and I thought I would get to learn so many things from these peoples, and I just applied. But yeah, so in startup, unless like you'll not be having a definitive role, like you should do only this or that, you'll get an exposure of lot many things. You might have to take few meetings. Otherwise, like if you are working in an early stage of career, you might not have uh, you might not get the opportunity to be involved in such type of works. So you'll but in startup you'll get a very good exposure initially. But you might feel a little bit burden out having so many responsibilities, but still I would say the initial days in startup is when it's very good because you'll learn a lot of things during that tenure, which you might not feel at that moment, but definitely you'll gain a lot of things.
Absolutely. And I think this is one of the things in startups. Research always is a teamwork, no matter where you're doing it. But in fast-paced, like startups are these opportunities where somebody came up with an idea, proving that it works before it makes it industrial or at a bigger space. So there the timelines are very short in the sense we can say in terms of exploratory research where you have a little bit of relaxed nature, you can take a little bit more time. Here you have to perform, obviously. And another point which Bhargava mentioned about flexibility in roles. So there is probably a designation when you're joining a startup, but there are more than that different roles which you are playing in different time as and when needed. So having that clear flexibility in your mind that you are not only going to perform your job essentials, you are going to do something more than that. And the idea of open-mindedness with the flexibility of it also helps navigate your time at those startups. And obviously, the wonderful learning comes with it. Now, let's move to the next phase, moving back from startup to something which you know, like you were missing those insects as you mentioned. So you're longing, and every researcher have these longings in themselves that whatever the area they are fascinated about, which they enjoy more than anything else, so that was your love for insects, which you brought back to Tata Institute now. So let's talk about this thing that when you were making this decision, because this pay different and everything, there are so many different aspects which comes when you are moving from one position to another one. So what were the thoughts going on in your head before making that move?
Um, and I mean, nothing much. I would say just I decided that okay, if I'm given opportunity to work on the insect molecular biology and especially in TIGS, I mean, as such, it's they were doing a very wonderful research, and also the purpose of TIGS is also it's very wonderful. So I was very sure that if I'm given opportunity to uh, work on insect molecular biology, I would definitely choose that. So a decision was not very tough, but yeah, it was hard to say goodbye to a very short startup journey. I would have continued. I would have continued in the startup if uh, I've not got an opportunity of this opportunity at TIGS. Yeah, I would say the decision was not very tough, but yeah, I actually liked the opportunity that is being given. So yeah.
So next point I'll ask that we talked about research challenges, accomplishments. How you will say that research has helped you exploring the world? Like now you have an adjunct fellow position at Sydney, Australia. How did that go? And based on your experience, what you can share with our audience that they should also look for opportunities where they can grow as a researcher, develop new collaborations, and then early on how to enjoy life also.
Yeah. So as I said, like I was not very interested to pursue my postdoc outside India. But simply because like I've seen most of my friends or most of my seniors, they'll go to a postdoc for US or Australia anywhere, and they would end up staying in the same country, and very few people come back to India. So I I don't know. I just wanted to stay back at India. Uh, so I chose not to go for postdoc there. But here, when I got given opportunity that I have a job in hand in India, just I was being sent to Australia to learn about the things which is being done here. I mean that I thought like, oh, this must be a wonderful opportunity that I might be getting, because I'll be sure that I'll be coming back to India, and also I'll be getting a wonderful opportunity to see the research, how is it happening outside India. So that was it was wonderful that I've gotten that opportunity. And yeah, I would say when you're going out of India or anywhere to uh, join research outside India, the confidence matter. Even you should be very confident everywhere, and which makes you a good researcher. But yeah, so you'll be learning a lot of things when you go out. Uh, so yeah, it's always wonderful to explore, and it's always better to leave your comfort zone and go explore the things outside the your niche.
In these conversations, we have heard some wonderful stories that how when you're moving out of your country for the first time, it is so challenging that you are not afraid. Like especially uh, coming from India, it was not part of the thing that you should cook, you should clean, and you do all of those things because there you have house helps who can take care of all of that. But once you are moving out to different countries where those privileges are gone, and then now you have to take not only care of your research inside the lab but outside, everything you have to do by yourself. So did you experience anything like that when you moved to Australia?
Yeah, definitely. So when I did not know anybody when I just came to Sydney, and it was hard to know things. But luckily, I just came along with my wife, so there was someone to shoulder to share my difficult times. The house part which you were explaining, that was, I mean, I've had a help. I mean, so my wife was helping me, so I was lucky enough with that aspect. But to adjusting to a different environment here, adjusting to different research team and different research environment, it's a bit challenging in earlier days. But like when you get to know the people, when you start engaging with them, like you'll just tend to forget all the difficult times you had. And yeah, so initial few, I would say 1 or 2 months, it will be difficult to adjust to that environment or new country, when you, especially when you don't know anybody, when you going to that place. But then, I mean, it's pretty easy when you just adjust to that place. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think this is where two most important things of any human will say, especially if we are just talking about researchers, having those soft skills and the adaptability whenever you are moving out of either your comfort zone or different research area, different countries. Obviously, with there you have might or might not have language barrier also. Those cultural challenges obviously comes when you're moving from far east to far west or any other globally, these moves are done. So adaptability means not only in the lab environment but also outside, because somewhere the process of the same experiment is different. In one country you have to prepare all of your reagents, whereas in other you have everything, the kits are ready, you are like always on the first day you are get set ready to perform the experiments, which you can in some countries, whereas in some others you are not. So having that adaptability and early learning skills is also very helpful whenever you are trying to establish yourself in a different country. Soft skills, like when you are moving outside the lab and there is a different language which is used in that country. So having learned some basics of that also will make your transition easier and smoother. That helps, especially if you are moving into Europe, which is a little bit more challenging than if you're moving to a country where English is still the language. The last thing, if we would like to ask you, Bhargava, what is one thing, if you can say that, which keeps you going in research without, you know, an idea of giving up whatever the challenges is, brings on all those troubleshooting, field experiments, whatnot, all. What is one thing which keeps you motivated and going every day?
I would say the interest in the subject. So if you're uh, interested enough in your subject, nothing matters. Just you'll keep on overcoming those barriers and you'll stay in your subject. And also, you should be patient enough, as you said. So having a patience is key, especially in research. I mean, the success doesn't come overnight, so should be patient and should be waiting for your time. So definitely, and if you are persistent enough and if you are putting your hard work, definitely, some or the other day, I mean, the success will come to you.
Absolutely. And I think this is the most rewarding part of research, that when you realize that your hard work of years and in some time decades have come to something which is helping society, humankind, or nature, Mother Earth. You are contributing to make this world a better place, not only for humans, but for animals, pets, wildlife, and even plants when we are talking about so many different things as a global part. This is something which can keep you motivated all the time. But underlying managing that stress, Bhargava, if you have few points to share with our audience, that how they should manage the stress, because if everything is working fine, you're motivated, all good, but what happens when nothing of them is working?
As I said, just take a break and come with a fresh mind and try again. I mean, definitely there will be something that will be missing out when nothing is working out. Just be patient enough to run through your experiment to see which is that point that you are missing out. Just talk to people, which I mean opens your eye. I mean, I mean, if the same idea runs through multiple people, they would have different perspective on that. So definitely, you'll get one thing or the other thing sorted. So yeah, so when nothing is working out, just take a break and just talk to people. Definitely, you'll find a solution.
Absolutely. And one more point, if I can add to that, is like never marry a hypothesis. Science, one thing which teaches you that you always have a hypothesis, but do not be very adamant to it, or do not accept anything which is not following it, because the flexibility, again, going back, is one thing which science teaches you, that you might have thought it in a different way, but when you are working with biological experiments, it might show up in a totally different way. And that's when most of the wonderful research and the products came out of those experiments where the hypothesis was not followed and they discovered something new. With this, we'll say thank you so much, Dr. Bhargava, for sharing your journey with our audience. And we'll say to all the audience, if you want to write to Dr. Bhargava, you can write to him directly. If you want STEM for Society to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, we are there to facilitate you. We do run a mentor mentee program where you can be mentored by one of our researcher celebrities. As you see that they are dedicated, they are passionate about what they do, and they are also there to help you to come to that level where you really want to be. Thank you so much, Dr. Bhagwa.
Yeah. Thank you so much for hosting me. This was my first experience talking to people about my research or my experience during my research, and it was wonderful. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous also, but yeah, I think I could able to deliver what I wanted to say. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Bhagava. And this is one thing which we really want to do in this, that when we say let's celebrate research as researcher celebrity, we firmly believe that every researcher is a celebrity. They should be celebrated. And one of the things, like one of the most challenging thing which we all always experience whenever we approach someone saying that, hey, would you like to be part of researcher celebrity? They are like, no. First they say we are not celebrity. B, they say we don't feel confident. So you have done wonderful in this, and this is also one thing which barrier which we really want to break. That researchers are not limited by anything. They can do whatever they want.
Right. Well
Thank
said.
you so much, Dr. Bhagwa. And to all the audience, we can say stay tuned for another episode of Researchers Celebrity.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.